Hello guys, yet another ATP Weekly, me and Mario. Today we're without a producer, so you're gonna have to look at our faces quite a lot. But anyway, it's just gonna be the usual. We once again have three events, of course, to talk about. And we probably should start with the biggest one, like Rotterdam ATP 500, where Yannick Sinner picked up another title, unbeaten for the year, 2,500 points.
200.
Yeah, just absolutely insane, honestly. And Mario, what do you think about his first event, which sometimes is like a big deal for players, right? Like sometimes they win the first major title, or I don't know, make a breakthrough of any sorts, and then it's not easy to follow it up. Whereas Sinner in Rotterdam, yeah, pretty much
Uh,
did.
yeah, I mean, I would say that it's been quite impressive because I feel like he hasn't been as flawless as he was in Australia, or even at the end of last year. He had patches where he played great, that's for sure, but um, you know. mm, it just wasn't that brilliant, in my opinion, watching his matches. He was just solid enough, and yeah, maybe I feel like also the opposition was also quite good because yeah, maybe not the very top 3-4 guys on the tour, but facing Minaur, especially the way he started this year, even though we knew about their head-to-head, and probably this one has also been one of the toughest for him in the rivalry, which now is 7-love, but lost a set against Monfils, but he never really was close to even thinking about losing the match. At least that was my perspective. And even after losing the second set, right after he goes up 3-love in the third set, yeah, that match against Raonic probably was for um, as long as it has been played, was probably the toughest, even because after getting that early break, Sinner kind of had some doubts and wasn't as good as even he has been in the other matches of the week. But yeah, overall, after winning the first set, and also then Raonic, with the physical issues. But overall, even considering the other four matches, um, just very, very good. How composed and super focused, and even in moments where he wasn't as flawless as maybe in January, but still has played good enough to just, I would say, easily winning the tournament. Yeah, despite the final, for example, has been a tough two setters, but nothing really, never really close to lose in any of these matches.
Yeah, two set points against Raonic, that was pretty vital for sure. The one against Monfils, I fully agree with that. Like there was absolutely no way that Monfils was beating him. That's kind of how I felt because he couldn't out hit him, he couldn't outlast
Yeah,
him. Yeah, I mean there was just it was just real tough to see a path to victory for Gael. But as a whole, like isn't this how he won the Australian Open as well in a way? Like not peeking out of his mind, but just being
yeah,
doing enough on
exactly.
every single day, like kind of, yeah, this has been kind of it. And this, I guess, is different to his 2023, to his late finish to 2023, where it kind of felt for us like this level is, yeah, this is like the Yannick Sinner at his absolute best. This is probably unsustainable in the long run. This is not. Rotterdam, Australian Open, what he showed in these events, it's not unsustainable. And yeah, I mean, Yannick right now, obviously a big lead over everyone else in the race rankings, and he gets to number 3 as well, right, over
Hmm.
Daniel Medvedev. We'll see. I mean, he has some points to defend in the Sunshine Double. So does Carlos Alcaraz. It's definitely quite open for him to potentially attack the number 2 position. Do you sort of agree with me that actually, sort of regardless of if it's good for him or not, the key thing for Yannick Sinner going sort of this year in terms of whether he can be number 1 and etc., it will be the clay season, because this is where
Yeah,
he defends like 0 points from
yeah.
last year after Monte
That's where
Carlo.
that's where was I what I was about to say, because you were mentioning about the points to defend in the Sunshine Double, and I was about to tell you, if we consider the save points after the French Open, Sinner is number 2, and that means number 2, and actually is even not as far as from Djokovic at number one. So basically, it means considering that he has a lot of points to defend in Sunshine Double and even Monte Carlo, let's say, because he was in the semifinals. But then Madrid, Rome will be, for example, two key events. Also the French Open, of course. Yeah, these three big tournaments will be very much a key for him. I mean, also the other will be important because it's a very tight race, and everybody needs to keep going at his best. Even Medvedev, still very good result. Yeah, no titles, but still he has been picking points very consistently lately because of the Australian Open final and other finals he reached, and still he has been surpassed. So nobody can can really let himself slow down just a little bit if in terms of just ranking goals, because then if we consider number three, number four, I mean, yeah, it matters because if there's a withdrawal in a slam, then you can be number two seed, but overall it's not that much a big difference. It's maybe more for Sinner because we are talking about best career ranking. But yeah, in that race to number one, of course, the clay season will be very important.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, number three, number four, it actually isn't that big a deal usually. So, yeah, I'm also not really looking at it as like a big storyline, whether Medvedev, as Gene is
No.
saying here, yeah, I mean, Medvedev can take it back after Dubai, Sinner not playing until Indian Wells. But
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
also,
in
yeah,
Italy,
I'm just not looking at it too
in
much.
Italy, we just made a kind of a big storyline, but just because he's now surpassed all the other players
Yeah,
who
because he
were
surpassed
and
Panatta,
number
yeah,
four, Panatta,
obviously.
and also the women. There were,
Yeah, fair.
there was
Okay.
Schiavone and number four also,
Schiavone
and
only, yeah.
yeah, but just a statistical data. When you are so high in the ranking, yeah, of course, it's one step, forward because when it best ranking, you can be number three, number two, and everything matters. But at this point, it's more like, will he be number one or not? Because even number
Yeah.
three, number four in a slam, until the semis, you will be fine in terms of this top four ranking opposition. And I feel like it's kind of enough, to be number four if you want to have nice draws in even in the big events.
Yeah, I agree. And as I said earlier, Sinner not playing until Indian Wells, Medvedev playing in
Yep.
Dubai. Daniel still with a lot to defend though, because as you said, he earned a lot of points back at the Australian Open. However, 500 in Rotterdam, gone. 250 in Doha, gone. So it's basically just 500 in Dubai now,
Yeah.
600 at Indian Wells, 1,000 at Miami. So still 1,000 in Rome as well, which is
Yeah.
like for
Exactly.
Medvedev, it's not a guarantee that this is going to happen. I think Sinner last year on clay, just guessing, won probably like 600, 700 points. He can definitely get to like 1,000, but yeah, anything he does like over 1,000, let's say, on clay
Yeah.
would be
Let's
a
say that
massive help.
uh, you know, if we consider just a little bit of a bigger picture for Medvedev when we talk about the 1,000 in Rome, let's say that this year it's kind of reasonable for him because then French Open no points because first round gross.
Yeah.
So if we make 1,000 in total, maybe I don't want to say in total, but even if he gets two solid results, he still will be able to more or less defend those points. But yeah, still it was a big storyline last year, that title in Rome, which curiously it's still his last one, despite all the hardcore tennis that we had. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, last year essentially all of them did well at the Sunshine Double. All of them that played,
Yeah.
not counting Djokovic, and clay season. Yeah, there's definitely a lot to gain for Sinner. We'll sort of find out whether he can do it. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about when it comes to Sinner. However, yeah, Alex de Minaur, did this performance in the final sort of give you confidence that maybe in the future he won't be a Gael Monfils to Novak Djokovic, a David Ferrer to Roger Federer, but he will actually pick up some wins because this was actually their best match probably. I know Demeanor took a set in Sofia, but this still
Mm,
felt like it was really back and forth. The slow courts actually maybe not hurting Alex as much as I thought. And well, this definitely was much better than the Davis Cup finals, where like
Oh,
Dimo just
absolutely.
tried to be sort of inventive, tried to be aggressive, and it was all just a total fail. Here, he was actually pushing Sinner so hard from start to finish. So I feel like this is still a big positive as well for him.
Yeah, I actually feel that even if Minaur is, that kind of a player who usually prefers the quickest conditions because his game can be more, effective in general. But in some way, for the way Sinner can hit the ball, I I, I kind of started feeling that if it's not that quick, then Minaur has a better chance against Sinner because Sinner can be, for example, in Rotterdam was a bit tougher for Sinner to to push against the wall. That the Minor raised, defended the court really well in some moment, also attacked well when he needed to, but without rushing, just playing. He was basically the Minor playing his game, it's at a very good level. Yeah, I mean, I may see one day the Minor winning one match against Sinner. Of course, it will be a very very tough matchup because Sinner can also be, especially right now, we can also be solid when he needs to. He has added also, as we are seeing for months right now. He has added a bit of variation. At times, he comes to the net a little bit more often, and maybe he can try to you know successfully to get over to the Minor's baseline game, which is rightfully annoys a lot of players. It will be difficult for the Minor, that's for sure. But if I have to think about one match, especially if they play so many times as they are doing, probably sooner or later, once will be his one, maybe on the grass. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, when I think of like the quality gap between Monfils and Djokovic, it's actually pretty similar to I think Sinner
Yeah,
Deminor. But then again, Gael had his chances. Maybe Gael had an even tougher matchup. I mean, it's tough to say. Yeah, I mean, on the slow courts, as you said, maybe this is a little better for Deminor in terms of the defense, the grinding. But that's when the big improvements of Sinner in the last few months sort of
yeah,
come
I hope
in.
so.
The way he can now close off the net, the way he can get so much out of his serve. Gene is also talking about this in the chat, and great stat actually about just 5 more points won by Sinner in that final over Demon, which kind of shows you how tough it was, despite being, well, 7-5, 6-4, which maybe doesn't fully paint the picture of
Mm,
how much of a nightmare that actually was for Yannick to get through it in straights. Obviously, it was a big win for him to do it so. Well, I don't want to say comfortably, but to do it in straights because
yeah,
Demon was definitely pushing him the hardest that he's ever been in this rivalry. Yeah, also anything, well, probably we should mention Talon Griekspoor from Rotterdam as well, as this is just yet another big Rotterdam round. And honestly, he's kind of been like this all year when, like, at the Australian Open, he's not playing too well. He gets like out hit, he gets totally blown off the court by Safiurin for 2 sets and a half, and then he comes back and he manages to just fight his way towards the end of the match. And then against Fees, he's also like winning a physical battle more so than actually playing well. He obviously gets demolished by Kazo in the third round. So I wasn't really impressed with Talon Griekspoor's level the entire year so far, which is just a month and a half. But then he comes
yeah,
in. He also is really struggling against Musetti. I think he did play himself into form. Obviously, Sinner then came in, and Sinner also has been a very tough matchup for him, which I think mostly is at the quality gap, actually. Like, I don't think
yeah.
it's really any matchup thing. But as a whole, I mean, definitely we need to say that this venue at Rotterdam tends to bring out the best from Talon. Five top 20 wins in his career. Sorry, 10 top 20
10,
wins in
10,
his
10.
career, five at Rotterdam. That's what I was trying to say. And of course, two top 10 as well. And now one of them is in Rotterdam as well against Hubert Hurkacz.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still thought that Australian Open could have been some good indication for him as a player in terms that despite not being convincing at all, I mean at all, but not being really convincing, but still left in the tournament with 2 wins. For a player of his status, it's still quite a good result, despite the tough match in the third round, which of course was not
He had like one of the toughest
ideal.
draws as well, right? We need to remember
Yeah,
about
also
that because
also
like
of course.
Safiorin feels in the first two
So I
rounds. Yeah.
mean, overall, yeah, the level was not very high, but the campaign, overall was not that bad. And yeah, of course, bringing in Rotterdam, first I really watched that first round match, and I was a bit doubtful. It was a bit of an escape for him, and also, considering how Musetti is doing right now. I wasn't still I wasn't impressed. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But then maybe he also needed that one win. At times you enter the court as you were last year semi-finalist. You're playing again in Rotterdam, probably with more pressure than you did in the previous years. You are not playing well because it can happen, and finding a way to win, and then yeah, went on to a very very good week once again. Yeah, for the match against Sinner, I agree with you. I feel like in terms of the game, um, potentially Griekspoor can have the game plan, in mind, what to do to try to put Sinner in a difficult situation, but the quality gap means that it's difficult that this happens. So yeah, I feel more that it's not Sinner Minaur. Maybe it's more also about the matchup. Probably Griekspoor is player with a bit more, um, also a bit more vertical. I feel like he could do something uncomfortable for Sinner, but not with the quality Sinner has right now and since last year. So it was difficult to imagine an upset in the semis. So overall, a very good and positive week.
Yeah, it was difficult to imagine an upset in any senior match this week, but
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Just Greek Sport, definitely one of these players who truly brings out his best at home. Obviously, he's won the Hertogenbosch title last year as well as the
yeah,
second Dutchman in a row. Anyway, anything else from Rotterdam? We basically had Raonic with a quarterfinal run. I guess he kind of deserves a mention
yeah,
because,
absolutely.
well, once again, he shows he has the quality, but I don't know if his body is going to hold up, and that's like been the main story. He retired at the Australian Open as well against Alex de Minaur after playing a very
Yes.
nice couple of sets. So I guess that's mostly it. We also had Grigor Dimitrov, Andrei Rublev with solid runs. I guess that's the players that were sort of like exactly what we expected from them.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. Nothing less, nothing more. Yeah. Mm, yeah, basically nothing really to say, because these are, both Rublev and Dimitrov, two players that could have done maybe even better, but still a loss to Deminor. You may think about that. So, nothing really to, in my opinion, to judge. If not that, um, yeah, no, anything, honestly.
yeah, maybe one more
Dimitrov
demeanor question than this.
was one match away from re-entering the top 10.
Oh yeah,
Also,
that's a big
that
one.
was kind of a story for him, but yeah, it didn't happen.
And also
Still can happen.
for the one handers, right? Because he could have saved the
Yeah,
future
yeah,
of one
yeah, yeah, yeah.
handers.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you
It's
guys
just
didn't know,
symbolical.
yeah, yeah,
Just
it's the
symbolical
first
because
week since the ATP rankings were introduced when we won't have a one-hander in the top 10. And Tsitsipas fell out. Fritz actually overtook him, but Dimitrov could have been there if he won Rotterdam. So basically, Dimitrov was trying to save one-handers and he didn't. But yeah, maybe one more thing about the Minor, because recently
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
friend of mine, sort of after the Australian Open, he posed this question, maybe not the question, but like posed this opinion on a group chat, and he was like congratulations to the Minor for like truly maximizing his potential, and like this guy really like basically didn't have any ability to be in the top 10, but he's there now. And I like very actively disagree with this. Like, to
yeah.
me,
Exactly.
yeah, he's actually very talented, and the
Yeah,
way
he
what
has
he's
good.
doing right now is just the expected thing. Like, if he goes further from here, sure. But like right now, being top 10, 9, 8, winning 500s, making finals of 500s, making a final in a 1000, like that's something you kind of expect from Alex de
Yeah,
Minaur. He's been
honestly,
such
I
a
agree, because he can
yeah.
serve well. He can play well. If we both on grass and on the hard court, so he can grab points on both surface really, really well. And also,
He's
as
not that horrible on clay. Not that horrible on
no,
clay.
no, no,
I've been
not that
saying that for
horrible.
years.
No, no, no. Yeah, that's right. But because he has very good manuality, he defends the court very, very well. I mean, these are also qualities.
Yeah,
It's not like quality is just blasting the forehand as hard as as ever. So yeah, I'm not really surprised to see the nine next to
yeah.
his game. If I think, even if I make a comparison, the Minaur, Taylor Fritz, Fritz is another
Same
player who I could,
caliber.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. Two players who I kind of consider, similar in terms of the prospect, even with different style. So
Yeah,
I'm not
probably
surprised to
slightly
see.
easier for Fritz to win a big title like he did in Indian Wells, but
Yeah,
even going
yeah, that's for
forward.
sure. Uh,
But yeah.
but yeah, in terms of the ranking, for the way the ranking
Hmm.
plays out,
I mean, Taylor
um,
did get to number five, but yeah, I mean, of course, you can find a lot of examples. Yeah, definitely, like something that brings people to say this is probably sort of the hard work aspect of both the Minor's game and sort of how he's improved over the years. But it's definitely done on like a foundation of just simply talent. And yeah, I do really like how he's developed over the years, especially, of
yeah, I
course, yeah, the
mean,
serve, the
talented.
aggression. That
People
can mean a lot of things, I know.
should, of course, and people should just think that he was basically number 16, 18 at 2021 already.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
it's not like he's going out of nowhere to number 9, 10. So I'm not really surprised to see him having a push to the top 10.
I think this is one of the biggest arguments as well. Yeah, how sort of stable he's been in the top 30 since he was so young. Yeah, basically always there and never really in danger to fall out because, I mean, he just has such a solid base level as well. Anyway, let's get to maybe, well, we have the Buenos Aires things in the title, so let's maybe get there. Apparently, Delray
Mm.
Beach was just didn't happen this week. John decided not to put it in the title. Until
Yeah,
today, we didn't have a single watch along. Although we did have content from Delray Beach, of course, courtesy of Miles. So we kind of
yeah,
acknowledged that it happened, and we did have that watch along with Vanch from the final. But anyway, yeah, let's start with Buenos Aires, where Facundo Diaz Acosta, as a wild card, picks up the title, and he's
yeah.
actually also our Jakub Bobro Player of the Week. So when it comes to that, we aren't really like focusing fully on that outside the top 100 thing. We're sort of just like, yeah, player who wasn't really that
Yeah, yeah.
well known to the general public, did something incredible. And Facundo Diaz Acosta did something incredible, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Started the year already, talking about, his presence at the big stage with that first round at the Australian Open when he actually came quite close to, to win that match against Taylor Fritz, who then went on to reach the quarter. Was a match played in some circumstances also. But yeah, people, let's say, calling general public probably also had the chance to know him a little bit better at the Australian Open, and then having run title. It's great. We are quite used to in this year to see this tournament in South America to bring out some storyline like this. And yeah, Diaz Acosta really has been you know consistent at that around the 100 level in terms of the ranking for a while now. Since the end of last year, he was pushing this wall. um yeah, overall, very, very, very good week, because also yesterday I was also a bit impressed. Jarry didn't play amazing, but the way, the composure that Diaz Acosta had, especially at the beginning, the first set he played very, very, very well. um you may head up that probably, between the two, the most pressure probably would have been felt by the Argentinian at home, first ATP Tour, 2050 final. 250 final, sorry. But yeah, played great as he did the whole week. And the second Argentinian champion since 2009 there after Schwartzman in 2021. So yeah, for sure, very, very, very big week for him and for Argentina as well. That, a country that needs players, who wins this title. He has some already, but it's a bit more up and downs for a lot for some of them too. And yeah, definitely great. And I'm actually very, very interesting right now what happens, because as we were saying for Darderi last week, some more opportunities are coming. He was already top 100, but still being top 60, 59, brings you more opportunities, especially now that the entry list will be open for the tournaments of the clay European season.
Yeah, he has a lot of time until the spring when he starts dropping all of these challenger titles. We'll see when he will be ranked
Yeah,
after
exactly.
that. But of course, 250 points now, so it kind of covers like 3 challenger titles more or less. So we know that he won't drop out like outside of the top 120 or something, even if he doesn't win a match for the next 3 months. And basically, yeah, he probably will. I mean, he's definitely shown some hardcore capabilities as well. But
Yeah,
this week, I mean, yeah, as you said, the composure, the way that he was able to basically in the final, the first set at least, and then in the semis, like he literally plays his peak stuff. Like this is
yeah.
his game. This is literally what he wants to do. Superb defender, but at the same time also what a forehand, and also how he was serving against Jarry, just constantly putting pressure on that out wide on the outside, especially. Like it's just really the definitive version of his game in the most important matches of his life, which is so important and so impressive as well. As he said, the crowd support in Argentina is always amazing, and the final definitely got nervy for him, which is fully understandable. It's kind of like the position that Jarry was in Santiago last year when he was like
Yeah,
clearly
absolutely.
very wobbly near the finish line, like almost all of his matches in Santiago. The difference, I guess, for Díaz Acosta was that he actually won everything in straights. Like nothing
Yeah,
really
totally.
came to
Exactly.
yeah, nothing was that close, but it's still a very impressive set of wins. We've got two sort of semi-random winners so far in the Golden Swing, which this part of the season is little known for. Honestly, like Rio is literally the same field like Buenos Aires, so maybe we're gonna get more of
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Even if, I mean,
But
Buenos Aires is, if
mhm.
we have a look at, let's say the Golden Book, the previous winners, it was, usually a tournament where the good players, the top players, sorry, everyone is good, but
Yeah, because
the top players were showing up,
Cordoba usually is
Um,
like a weaker field, right? And Buenos
yes,
Aires,
exactly,
the
because
players
you
that
had
play in
one
Rio
week
are
less.
already in Buenos Aires. Yeah. So basically, last
Um,
year's you didn't have anyone sort of like Diaz Acosta coming out from, let's say, around the 100-ish ranking to win a title. Yeah, it was mostly Cordoba with like Cerundolo and, of course, Juan Ignacio Londero.
yes,
Never
exactly,
forget.
absolutely.
Lest we forget Juan Ignacio Londero, who is kind of trying to be forgotten, but at the same time, he hasn't been healthy. Yeah, and with Diaz Acosta, I guess that's maybe more or less it. Let's talk about Carlos Alcaraz, maybe actually. Let's do it backwards. Let's start with Carlos Alcaraz and then go to Nicolas Jarry, because, of course, Carlos Alcaraz was the big favorite for this title. Sort of a few contenders go out early. Cameron Norrie, well, he went deep last year. He was in the final, but was he actually a
Yeah,
threat
it's
to
different.
Alcaraz who would be healthy? I don't know. But anyway, like that was still, a thing that told us, okay, so Carlos kinda can't be losing at this event unless it's to Jari or Echeverry, probably. That
Mm,
semifinal looked like the
yeah.
potential problem. Well, still you expected him to get through though, right? So it was still a pretty massive upset for Nicolas Jari, even if in 2023 he pushed him on 2 different occasions.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking even more to Jari because, of course, the two matches last year, but also I thought like, he, uh, of course, you know, showed to have those weapons to hurt Alcaraz in some moments. And yeah, of course, the performance hasn't been unforgettable, the whole week. Uh, yeah, especially the first set tiebreak. In the second set, Jari played very, very, very well. Overall, yeah, I thought that, you know, he, of course, the pressure was on him to win the title, considering, you know, the whole field. He was for sure clearly the best player, considering, you know, the quality and the way he can play tennis. You know, a loss to Jarry is still something that um, can happen, but still showed us that Alcaraz is not, you know, already, what, you know, 100% or even close to it, that's for sure. And yeah, in it's, you know, something that it's been recurring, even if in the end of last year, Turin, he played well, even if he lost to Djokovic Australian Open. With that performance is the quarterfinal against Zverev, but still, it's, you know, still a loss against a very, very top and established player. Let's see what he's going to do in Rio. For sure, he's going to have these chances. Let's say that it's been, yeah, if he manages to win in Rio, then in the end he will be he will be fine, and probably even better than last year, because last year he did the opposite, and we know that, despite, you know, being basically the same field these 2 weeks, but there's a big difference, is that Rio, you know, gives you 500 points, and Buenos Aires half of them. So yeah, it's not been a good week for him, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking he has to win one of these to call it a successful swing, right? Like
Yeah,
if you're someone
absolutely.
like Carlos Alcaraz, you're the number two, right? You're the number two player in the world. You go to a part of the season which, well, first of all, you like the conditions in, but also no other top players travel to, which
Yeah,
basically we don't see now on the women's side, because they don't allow them to play to 50s now. But like on the men's side, it's also fairly rare. Like Medvedev, for the most part, Sinner, for the most part, they will have a
yeah,
lot stronger opposition in most events than Alcaraz will in Rio or Buenos Aires. And then he goes there, and like if he doesn't pick up either title,
yeah,
also,
that's for sure.
yeah, also taking into consideration the fact that from Wimbledon onwards he hasn't done it, maybe it's not that big a
No, no,
deal, but still, for a player of his stature, yeah, like he kind of needs to pick up a title
yeah, I
in
agree.
Rio to
We
get back
can
on track.
even argue that in Rio, you know, for example, Echeverry, who is, you know, a top 30 player, is not going to be there. So, you know, there's even, you know, one less of this, let's say, you know, top
Hmm.
50 players in the draw. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you, of course. You know, it feels like he chooses to go there, and, you know, one of these two titles he should be able to take it. Yeah, that's for sure. Even last year, you know, he didn't. He was not as flawless, even in some score lines. You know, some matches he was dropping the serve a bit, but still managed to, you know, win the title in Buenos Aires, and actually, you know, being very, very close to win also in Rio. So I agree that right now the feeling is that he has to win this title in Rio to call it for sure a successful swing. That's for sure.
Yeah, as you said, like this was a bit of a week where Carlos plays his B game and keeps going forward. And then against Jari, it was like two questions, like whether he actually will be able to step up if needed, and if it will be needed. Like if
Yeah,
actually Jari will
exactly.
push him that hard. And he did. At the first set tiebreak, he also mentioned that absolutely atrocious, horrible stuff. I think probably,
Despite
well,
having been
mhm.
the closest player, you know, in the first set to break. You know, at the beginning, first 4 games, he didn't drop a single point.
Yeah, but
You know,
then
he
going
was,
forwards, was there any chances? I
yeah,
don't
but
even know if there was a break point, honestly, in the entire set, right?
I don't know. First set for me, it was still feeling maybe today is going to be a bit better than the last
Okay.
two, you know, the first two matches. That was my
Uh,
feeling.
I think that's fair
And it
comparing to
was, in my
Vavasori and
opinion.
Carabelli. Yeah, yeah. I think that's fair
Um,
because against Vavasori, he was clearly the second best player on the court in the first 12 games. So
yeah.
I guess that's fair comparing to the previous two matches. Yeah, I mean a
But then
tiebreak
that
like
was
this can
that
happen.
tiebreak,
Mhm.
and then, you know, Jari stepped up a bit and Alcaraz didn't.
Yeah,
in the
I mean,
second
a
set.
tiebreak like this can happen, right? But like he breaks instantly in the second set. He doesn't follow through with it really. That was also pretty painful for him, I think. And
Yeah,
eventually, yeah, as you said, I mean, some of the games again with Jarry, I definitely leave this week sort of thinking more about Jarry's mobility and like raw speed, as you know, they're just sort of having them, higher respect for them, because honestly, sometimes he was even scrambling around the court really well, and also like some of
yeah,
the inventiveness, the creativity that he showed in the second set as well. Second set, last few games were definitely just an awesome Jarry
yeah.
performance, and I also stressed this on the Alcaraz Jarry watch along that like I don't really want to be talking, at the end of the match only about the first set tiebreak and
No,
only
no,
about
no,
how
no, no.
Alcaraz blew it, because first and foremost, Nicolas Jarry won this match because he's an awesome tennis player. Obviously, yeah, let's talk about briefly about him. I mean, in the final, what sort of happened to him? The consistency on the backhand wing that was there against Alcaraz, like totally gone. The returning against the
Yeah,
left-handed Diaz Acosta, absolutely gone. Like most of the time, he was so far out of the court. Obviously, that's partially due to the spot serving of Faku, but then again, like just not doing enough with the return, or just blowing it completely. A few random errors when he had the chance to return to the match in the second set. So I guess a bit of a final to forget. But since it's a
yeah,
final,
yeah.
he can't really forget
Disappointed,
it.
a disappointing, final, because we always think that it's difficult to follow up this very very big win that you get. But for Jari, I thought it was not going to be an issue, and probably it hasn't, because of he got the experience, and also it
It's not
wasn't
as groundbreaking for him, right? I mean,
yeah,
he's
and
8 and 11
also
against the top 10. It's not like as
exactly.
groundbreaking for
And
him.
he has now top 5 wins on clay, on hard, on grass, all seas, and actually it was
Are
not
they both
even,
against Tsitsipas, the other two? Or?
yeah, and one against Rude, but we will take the stat. And
Against Rude as well. Okay, yeah, right. I forgot about Rude. Yeah.
yeah,
But that's clay, right? Rude isn't clay, though,
was on clay. But in Geneva.
in Geneva. So hard and grass are against Tsitsipas?
Yeah. In
Okay.
Geneva, which is basically Jarry's surface, Geneva
Yeah, I mean,
clay. Uh,
altitude clay. Yeah.
but yeah, talking, yeah, and also it was not even a 3-hour match, something like that, that you may feel like, okay, we probably will be gassed tomorrow. Uh, Basically, didn't play a good match, and on the other hand, to recognize that Diaz Acosta played very, very well, and he had some opportunities in the second set and didn't take it. Overall, still a good week. Of course, maybe it may look a bit of a chance not taken, given the fact that he got the very big win, and then didn't follow up with winning in the final. But in the end, I feel like he can still take the fact that he got the chance to beat Alcaraz, even if maybe was not even playing at 100% or something like that. But still, as you mentioned, Jari played incredible tennis, and especially in the end. So I think he will take this great performance from this week, and yeah, bring on to the next ones. And now, yeah, there's the tournament in Rio, and I actually didn't check the draw. I don't know if it's on the other side of
Jari could meet him in the final.
yeah, and so it's a good draw, because it's not a 250. If 500, if you reach the final, the points are more points gained, then you basically will defend your title got in Santiago, even if you may not fail to defend it. So yeah, solid results and very good week. He's shown us to be, as you said, an awesome player. That's right.
Yeah, and let's talk about Delray Beach as well, which was the event that didn't happen apparently. The event that for a while this week we didn't have any watch
Yeah, and
alongs
also
for.
I don't know if we have so many storylines. There are, but
I kind of
you know,
agree with you. Yeah, like that's why I today was like Vansh was trying to convince me to do the watch along for that final, and I was like, "There's no narrative there. I'm not invested in it whatsoever. It's like the U.S. national championships, and I would actually enjoy the new U.S. national championships. I loved all the national championships, but when they're sort of like in disguise, and I don't know. I mean, Tommy Paul, Taylor Fritz, if they ever sort of transcend to winning big titles or like threatening for big titles consistently, it will not be because of this final, is what I said to Vanch. However, I did kind of enjoy it. And after all, Taylor Fritz defends his title, doesn't even drop a set. Yeah, what's the what's the story
Yeah,
here?
actually, my biggest storyline is that it's the first time he's not losing set to win an ATP title.
Okay.
Just curiously, but also yeah, I mean, Tommy Paul still very very good week because he followed up the title in Dallas with another final. So let's say capitalizing this 2 week in conditions that he likes. So that's also big. Probably, there's yeah, I mean, basically, even if we think about the other, let's say top 20 players, there was Tiafo, but was Tiafo right now a threat? And the semifinal between him and Paul really showed it. So yeah, basically, I feel like the biggest storyline is just the solid week that these two players had, which is going to be good in for them, of course, for Fritz because he won a title, and Paul still won a title last week and reached another final. If we compare to last year, in these two tournaments didn't really capitalize. So yeah, considering that he didn't defend the points from the semifinal at the Australian Open, picking these points here and there, it's for sure good for him, especially because he was in the last act in Acapulco. So he's, let's say, saved his ranking also. But yeah, last week was a bit more of a storyline because there was, Giron seeking for the first title. Paul was not winning a title in a long time. This week was different because it would have been another title in a second
Yeah.
straight week. So
Back
yeah,
to back weeks, right? That would have been pretty
yeah.
huge. And
So
yeah.
I agree with you, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Frances Tiafoe might actually be a pretty big story. That like
Hmm.
he did look okay for a few matches, and then both against Giron and Paul, just absolutely like nothing performances, and well, that's actually quite big. And yeah, today I watched the final after not watching too much of Delray Beach at all this week. Like Buenos Aires was just so much more interesting to me, and Rotterdam as well, of course, and the challengers. But when talking about the final, yeah, I actually did kind of enjoy sitting here on Talking Tennis with Vanch watching it. There was definitely a lot of wind that made the quality go down quite a lot. However,
Yeah.
after Tommy Paul sort of got himself back into the match in the second set, was just like a Díaz Acosta Jarry sort of, where like he generated a lot of break points. Actually, both sets because he also had a break back when it was still one break in the first set, love 40. He shanked like a very sort
Yeah.
of, well, not really a put away, but like a very forehand which he easily could have finished off. And also, of course, after that, there's a lot of opportunities in the second set. He misses all of these second serve
Yeah, maybe
returns.
not ideal for a player who is this flat also. These windy conditions for Fritz are more. Fritz can be, can play safer with, at least, talking about trajectory. Not that Paul is a player that, uh, puts too many risks, but that way of hitting the ball can be, in my opinion, blown away more easily mm, than Fritz, Fritz shots.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy to win, we talked about this with Vanch today. He kind of needs to be at like his very best sort of focus level and like precision because, yeah, it's kind of hard for him to win points otherwise. And especially maybe the win sort of was harder for him as well than Fritz to handle because of that, because Fritz just has something very sort of sharp,
Yeah,
easy to rely on from both wings really these days. Of course, that's been part
yeah,
of
yeah,
his
yeah,
improvement.
absolutely.
And also the defensive scrambling has to be pointed out from Taylor to get that break in the second set. That was a great point. And of course, as overall, over the course of his career, the athleticism, the movement, this is something that has improved for him so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm
Mhm.
taking that I watched the world match between Paul and Mikkelsen this week in
Oh
Delray
yeah, that
Beach.
was probably the
Was a
best
big
one in
one.
Delray, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a very good one. Because yeah, Paul started not feeling very well, but then his level raised a lot, and Mikkelsen played very very well. So yeah, a player, I kind of watched, and not also because, even when we talk about challengers, I follow more closely the ones in my time zone. Usually, the American challengers, I honestly struggle
Okay.
to follow at night matches. So, a young player that I enjoyed watching. And comparing to the player we also watched at the next gen final, where he played his tennis, but losing all the matches. But this year I've seen something really, really good for him. So yeah, it was a good match, interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
just to
mhm. No, no,
no,
absolutely. I
nothing.
mean, Alex Mikkelsen definitely deserves a lot of credit. I honestly kind of forget about that because I've said it like, I've been talking about
Yeah, I
this
mean,
a lot of the time this year, and that's why I kind of forget, because right now this is like, yeah, okay. I mean, Mikkelsen has another good performance, sure, but obviously, if you sort of go backwards, as he said, to the next gen finals, this is like a different player, sort of. Yeah, the
yeah, absolutely,
disappointing,
no doubt.
slightly disappointing performance that he had in Jeddah, where we were sort of expecting him to be more of a threat, and we were thinking, whether, yeah, he's going to be able to take that form from the American challengers, from the different fields that we get there, against the other sort of peers, against the most talented peers. And he actually now is able to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, if we
definitely
just
a
talk
big step.
about the level, I'll be honest that he should have won that match. Something played out, Paul was a bit better, in these big moments. Maybe for sure, he will figure out, also with, more experience. But yeah, level wise was great, and who knows, maybe he wins that match and suddenly has a great run in Delray Beach. Who knows?
Yeah, and for the last 10 minutes, maybe we can just, briefly, as usual,
Yeah.
talk about the events of next week. The 500 is, of course, in Rio de Janeiro. We're gonna get some content from that because I think John has finally gotten the accreditation there as well. I don't know from which day he's gonna be there. I'm not really sure, but he's
Yeah,
definitely
we
gonna
have
be there.
we have our first winners in Rio.
Yeah, yeah. France Cerundolo beat Francisco Comesania just a second ago, and also Thomas Barrios Vera beating Gustavo Haide. But yeah, as a whole, this is a very what you guys need to know. This is a very similar draw to Buenos Aires.
Yeah, yeah,
Essentially,
yeah, yeah.
besides the wild cards, we only have the differences in qualifiers, which I don't think any of the qualifiers made it in Buenos Aires actually. Although I might be wrong on that. But anyway,
No.
there's also, of course, a couple of
Yeah, I
smaller.
mean, honestly, it
Yeah.
is more or less what I'm expecting from next week in the US, when there will be Dallas 500 and Delray Beach 250. More or less a similar story. If you decided to play that swing, you
Next year,
you
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
go, you keep going.
Somewhat like Los Cabos Acapulco as well, right? But I think that Acapulco actually has a few differences. Although it definitely, like what we've been seeing, that if we have a combo like that, the 250 gets a big boost because it literally gets like a
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
similar, stronger field. So for Los Cabos, this is an amazing move. We're gonna talk about Los Cabos in a second, but
Yeah,
but yeah,
no doubt.
I understand Buenos Aires, Rio. Definitely, like the fields are similar, which is a big opportunity for any player here, really, because the quality of the draw is the same as in Buenos Aires, but you're just going to get twice as many points. So
Yeah.
yeah, Carlos Alcaraz, who can stop him? We kind of hinted at that in Buenos Aires, but is it really
Yeah.
just like Jarry or bust? Is it the same? Like, is it just Jarry potentially, sort of with a chance to get him?
uh I mean, it will of course depend on the level. That's for sure. The level of play he will show, because yeah, I mean, talking about the players who are in his side of the draw,
Mm-hmm.
um I mean, maybe if suddenly buys plays out of his mind, like US Open, where we watched that first couple of sets. You may say still was 7-5, 7-5
They were good.
for
They were good.
Alcaraz.
No, I agree.
Mm,
They were good.
but yeah, I may see if he plays very well, maybe he can do something. Overall, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's difficult to imagine, because, for example, mm, Yeah, no, I'm struggling. Sorry, I'm really struggling. Because in normal condition, maybe last year I would have been a bit confident in probably uh, Serundolo to play a solid match. But this year, is he going to do that? Is he going to be there also? I don't know. It's difficult to imagine right now. Um,
No, but I agree. I was actually thinking of Fran too. Like a truly peaking display from Fran Cerundolo, that would pretty much be possible to me. However, of course, yeah, as you said, he hasn't been too good. Now he beats Comesania in the first round. Was it a fantastic performance? No, but maybe it's a start. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, Jarry is the biggest threat. I would love to see a final between Alcaraz and Fils, but I don't think Fils would win
ah,
it.
that
Well, I would love to see Alcaraz Fonseca as well. but
Yeah.
I'm talking
with
like
with
realistic here,
Fonseca with Fonseca winning, his first title
Oh,
here and
sure. I
now.
mean, I would love to see it. Last year he got like, well, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to say
yeah.
he got demolished because he was like so nervous and he kind of couldn't play. But basically, I would love to see it. Of course, I'm talking like about realistic stuff. Fins maybe can get there. We'll see. I mean, he has to play much better than in Buenos Aires. But yeah, I mean, it looks like Jari is basically still the main threat to
Yeah,
Carlos Alcaraz.
the story is, as you said, more or less similar to Buenos Aires, with the even bigger difference that Jari, for example, is opposite side. Um, and yeah, considering the actual form of the players, should be Alcaraz should be safe with a decent level. Let's say
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, Ban, as I think he told me to call him last time, definitely good taste because he's both listening to this, so good taste in tennis podcasts, videos whatsoever, and also good taste in tennis matches. Djokovic Wawrinka 2013, that's
Yeah, he
probably the
also
best of the
likes my
trilogy.
name.
Oh, and also, of course,
Which,
good taste for names. Absolutely. And yeah, the 250s we have, I have Los Cabos opened up first. So let's just talk about that. And as we already mentioned, this is going to be a new date for Los Cabos. It was previously in
yeah.
August, won by Stefanos Tsitsipas, who is also here. He's not the top seed, Alexander Zverev is. But now we get this Mexican double, Los Cabos and Acapulco.
Uh-huh.
So this is probably going to, as Mario said earlier, sort of improve the fields going forwards, be of major help to the event in Los Cabos. And
Yeah, let me open the throne.
yeah, I mean, you've got Ruud, you've got Tsitsipas, Zverev, the Minaur, by the way, who's also
Yeah,
flying over from
probably
Rotterdam.
I'm still trying to open the draw because I having difficulty, but it's I remember watching it that I felt that the upper side looked a bit stronger than the Zverev side than Tsitsipas side. I'm checking if I am drunk or I was right. Or maybe I was drunk. I don't know. Let's see.
I honestly don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean,
It's hard to tell.
you
It's
know, I
definitely more of an event where like you have the first four seeds and they are probably the main
oh yes,
favorites.
but if I think, if maybe Zverev is not playing at a very good level, and maybe
Hmm.
Draper or Safiulin show up
Yeah.
well, that was my take. We will see how Deminor is going to be. He hasn't withdrawn, so he should be there probably. I don't know if he arrived or if he will go or not after the final in Rotterdam. But right now, as 3-4 seeds, Deminor kind of looks more solid than Rude. Um, yeah, let's see. Mm, it can be interesting, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add, honestly. Draper, if he can beat Kokinakis today, that would be a big contender. The minors section looks pretty nice, other than Thompson.
Yeah,
If Diego Schwartzman doesn't win a match here, then he's done because, like, you're not gonna get a better draw.
yeah.
Yeah, Ruud Tsitsipas, as we said. I'm kind of interested to see if Kovacevic maybe can have a big week, but he has to overcome that Holt matchup first,
Ah,
which is he's actually 0-3 in.
yeah.
However, he beat Nori in Los Cabos, and I sort of feel like the way the ball travels through the air in the Mexican conditions is pretty good for him. But Sean was also talking, will you be covering Rio matches this week? So when it comes to our sort of plans for watch alongs, we kind of do this on a daily basis. So like we look at what we can do, and also like what's the most exciting, what we can do in terms of the time. But I'm assuming that Rio will be the main priority since it's the big event. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna get some watch alongs, especially as Carlos Alcaraz is also playing. Last week I think we did every single match of Alcaraz. We also did the final. So I would assume
Yeah.
that Rio is going to be probably more prevalent than Doha and Rotterdam, Doha and Los Cabos. Nick is also there in the chat with his predictions. Cerundolo to win Rio. I mean, he's
Okay.
already in the second round, so you're kind of cheating.
Yeah, so
but
he's,
it's still
right now.
it's still a bold performance, so it's fine. Bold performance, bold prediction, so it's fine. The Minaur to win Los Cabos is kind of bold as well because of the Rotterdam aspect, but of course,
Yeah.
the section looks pretty good for him.
Also
And
because probably he will have to beat Tsitsipas. Probably if Tsitsipas reaches the final, which is
that's an if for now. Like that's an if. I'm not
I'm
ready
just
to do
talking
that.
about the record. It
What's the
was
record? Because I don't even know. It's like
10-love.
10. Really? It's 10 by
Yeah,
now?
10-0.
Oh wow. Oh wow. I didn't even know it's 10 by now. Okay. I understand why you mentioned that. I thought it was like maybe 8-1 or something like that. Oh then yeah, because they even played these clay matches a few times. Yeah. But I wouldn't have guessed it was like 10 already. Anyway, yeah, and Doha, which Nick is predicting Rublev to win there. Very bold of you, first seed. No, but Cerundolo and Deminor are definitely
Yeah,
bold
it's
picks.
it's a week in usually Rublev should does well in these weeks. I mean, there are the threats.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see him losing, I guess, other than maybe Shevchenko in the quarter. And then you have Umber maybe, but Umber outside of indoors, a little
Shevchenko is
less dangerous.
the first match probably.
Yeah, but second round.
Oh yeah, second round.
Is what I'm. But yeah, of course, for Rublev, it's the first match. Yeah, Shevchenko just needs to beat Gasquet to get to him first, right?
Yeah.
Like a Peking Zhizhenzhang or someone like that. But yeah, Rublev Kachanov final, it might be happening. Marozhan, though, is a fairly dangerous second round opponent as usual. You've got Griekspoor, of course, who's coming off that good Rotterdam run. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
you
this
never
this does
know.
look pretty good for Rublev. Not gonna lie. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I was going to give predictions, I would be more boring than Nick, I have to say. Like, I would probably just go Rublev, I would go Alcaraz, and I don't know who I would go for Los
In
Cabos.
fact,
But
we will not do predictions for
yes,
this
we
week.
never do. So no. Has Mehdi announced when he's playing next? I mean, it's not like he sort of announced that initially that he wasn't gonna play Rotterdam and Doha, so he's kind of like
Yeah.
withdrawing gradually.
Yeah, maybe going week by week,
But it's
see how
probably
he
going
is.
to be Dubai. Like Indian Wells is basically a given. Dubai, I believe he should be there as well. But basically,
Yeah,
it's not like
same,
he
honestly.
announced it right away, right? So like he's withdrawing from events step by step. So we can't really tell you that like he's announced to play in Dubai. He is on the entry list in Dubai. However, he was also on the entry list in Rotterdam and Doha until a certain
Yeah, that's
moment.
for
So
sure.
it doesn't mean all that much. But anyway, he is scheduled for Dubai still. That's what we can tell you. And basically, I think someone else asked a similar question 2 days ago, and I basically gave them the very same answer because, well, what
Yeah,
else? What
it's
else can you say
he
about this one?
didn't really say anything loud and clear, so
Yeah,
we are
like
just going week by week.
all we
And
know is that he wasn't feeling ready yet 5 days ago. Will he be feeling ready for Dubai? Hopefully, because we
yeah,
would
I
like to
know
have him back on the tour.
he ended the Australian Open feeling a little bit of foot discomfort.
24 hours of tennis,
Yeah, of course, that's for sure. So yeah, the classic week by week situation. When he will be ready, he will be back. So that's why we cannot say really anything.
Yeah, and I guess that's gonna be it then. Thank you guys for
Yeah, a
joining
big
us.
storyline was also, the injury Echeverry suffered in Buenos Aires was a sad page of the tournament, considering that he will miss quite few tennis because he will miss the World Sunshine Double. But Santiago, he was finalist last year. This week was a big opportunity for him to gain some points because it's a 500. Maybe he won't even go to Houston, where he was in the final last year. Who knows when he will be back? It can be tough.
Yeah, and I of course agree with you. Yeah, Echeverry missing Indian Wells as well, where he probably could have a good shot to make a run as well, given that it's such a clay court-ish hard court. So hopefully, yeah, it's just going to be 6 weeks and that's it. Which is still pretty huge actually. But well,
Yeah.
what can you do at this stage? But yeah, he of course retired in the quarterfinals against Nicolas Jarry. Again, thank you guys for the comments, questions, and thank you for listening to us for an hour. While some of you while watching Wawrinka Djokovic, some of you maybe while watching us, some of you maybe while watching tennis from Rio. Still, Varias and Ramos currently playing. Soon enough, Delian and Nori on the court. So definitely a lot
Yeah.
to look forward to. And yeah, we're gonna be back for some other watch-alongs. As Sean was asking about the Rio things, we're definitely gonna have some content for you coming. John is gonna be in Rio on some days. I don't know which, but he's also gonna be bringing some content in your way. We also have Shihai in Dubai. I think I don't know if he's actually also going to be supplying the channel with something. I'm not sure. But anyway, we definitely have a
He is
lot of
there.
accreditations the last month or so, and Shihai is definitely there. Yes, that's all I know. Anyway, peace out
Same.
now,
I don't
and
know anything else.
thank you, Mario, and see you guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.